I currently have 21 credit cards in my arsenal, and with how deep I am into this game, I don't really see myself slowing down anytime soon. But out of all 21, there are only 3 that I would never cancel. And here's the twist. These aren't 3 specific credit cards like the Freedom Unlimited or Citi Custom Cash necessarily. These are 3 archetypes of cards that every smart credit card user should have, and more importantly, should never get rid of. Today, I'm breaking down what those are, why they're so important, and how keeping these cards forever can help protect your credit score, maximize your rewards, and foster the best long-term strategy. First is what I'll call the foundation card. This is the card that you started your credit card journey with, and it's been by your side ever since. Regardless of how weak this card is in comparison to your newer ones, this one deserves to be a forever card in your wallet, and here's why. Your oldest credit card is going to be what props up your average age of account, which makes up 15% of your credit score. While that may not sound like much, if it was to get messed up, it could have drastic implications on not only your score, but your finances as well. To show an example of what I mean here, let's pretend like you have 3 total credit cards right now, one with a 10-year history on it, one with a 3-year history, and one with a 1-year history. Taking an average of those 3, we get an average age of accounts of 4.7 years. Not bad. Now, if you were to cancel that 10-year-old credit card, your average age is going to be calculated based on the other 2, which would drop it all the way down to just 1.5 years. While I can't say exactly how much this would actually impact your score since everybody's profiles are so different, a drop in average age of accounts like that would definitely not feel good. And say you're somebody that's teetering on the edge between good and very good credit, which directly impacts the rates that you get for mortgages or car loans or any other kind of loans. Well, that drop in average age of accounts might bring down your score to a lower threshold, and that is where you could seriously impact your finances and your monthly costs as a whole. There is a positive flip side of this situation though, so let's show that real quick. What if instead we canceled the 1-year-old card compared to that 10-year-old one? Now, calculating that average age off of the 2 cards remaining, it would jump from 4.7 years whenever we had all 3 cards up to 6.5 years with just these 2. That of course could have the opposite impact on your credit score, which goes to show why, canceling cards can be a good thing depending on your specific situation. Obviously, this is an extremely simplistic example here, and while I don't want to go too far into the weeds, there are some nuances that I want to call out since they are so important here. First things first, closing your oldest credit card does not have to be as scary as I made it out to be. As we've talked about in the video I made about what I wish I knew before canceling credit cards, as long as you close a credit card that is in good standing, meaning it's paid off and you don't have any derogatory remarks or anything on it, that account will continue to age on your credit profile for another 10 years. So not only does that mean that your average age of accounts won't be impacted in that 10-year time frame, but also once it finally does fall off of your report, all of those other cards that you already had in your setup will now be 10 years older, which softens the blow of that loss of an account by a lot. Plus, I'm assuming that in that time frame, you're applying for more cards as well that will also have their own age. So overall, the impact to your score could be very, very minimal, even if you close your oldest card, which is not something that most of us would recommend you do. There is one situation where I would recommend somebody cancel it though, and that is if you were somebody that got stuck with a credit card from a predatory lender, like say you got the Credit One Platinum card that has a $39 annual fee that you just can't product change out of because they won't let you. Well, I don't know about you, but personally, I would rather take maybe a small hit to my credit report in 10 years than pay $39 per year for the rest of my life. But if you're one of the lucky ones who can product change away from an annual fee starter card to a no annual fee one instead, I would probably go that route just so you don't have to worry about closing it at all. Even though this video isn't necessarily focused on specific card products, in each section, I do want to talk about some of the options that you can consider within that archetype to really build out a solid long-term foundation. For the foundation card, my most recommended path here is usually either the Discover It cashback card or the Chase Freedom Unlimited. However, if you have absolutely no credit history and want to get one of those cards, you might not be able to. And if that's the case, you could go either the Discover It secured card route or the Chase Freedom Rise route, both of which are built for beginners or people rebuilding credit. Outside of those 2 ecosystems, though, there are plenty of other options, like maybe you're a student and you could go get the Capital One Saver Rewards student card, or maybe the US Bank secured card is a better option for you. But in reality, if you can just get started with any no annual fee card, even one from just your local bank, that is a win in my books. In order to keep this card alive too, I would just put a charge on it every 3 to 6 months, or maybe just set a subscription on it, make sure you have auto pay on to pay the statement balance off every month. And now you have that card that is basically just there, not for rewards, cards, but to build up that average age of accounts. No matter what stage of the credit card game you're in, but especially if you're a beginner, I would highly recommend you check out my credit card management app of choice, Max Rewards. Instead of hopping between different lenders' apps to see your total point balances, card balances, credit utilization, bill due dates, and more, you can do all of that in one convenient interface with Max Rewards. As you continue to add more cards to your setup and you're away from just the foundation card, knowing which one to use to get the maximum amount of value for every one of your purchases is key. And Max Rewards comes in clutch there with their best card tool that tells you exactly what card to use depending on what category you're spending in. But better yet, it'll tell you what card to use depending on the exact location that you're shopping in. While the free version has that and a lot of other features and is very powerful on its own, I personally pay for Max Rewards Gold, not only because it automatically activates all of my quarterly rotating categories for me on cards like my Chase Freedom Flex, and even automatically activates your credit card offers for you, which saves a lot of money and time just in the background. Another gold feature that has been huge for me is the welcome offer tracker. Since welcome offers are the only way that I'm able to travel as much as I do for free on points, having one place that shows exactly how much spend I have left until I hit that welcome offer is really beneficial because a lot of lenders' apps don't give you that in a convenient way. Even if you want to just try out all of the free features of Max Rewards, please be sure to download it through the link in my description. And during the sign up process, if you enter the promo code Spencer, you'll get a 3-month discount off of your annual Max Rewards Gold subscription if you ever do decide to upgrade to it. Huge thank you to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video. As always, let's jump back into it. The second forever card in your wallet is what I will call the Swiss Army knife. This is the card that you can use with confidence in any situation, knowing that you'll get a good, solid return on that spend. So in other words, I think that every single person should have and most likely never cancel a catch-all credit card. Most of the time, these cards will have no annual fee and give you anywhere from 1.5 to 3% back on every one of your purchases, regardless of spending category. These tend to be some of the most overlooked cards in people's setups because on the surface, they're just really boring. And I completely get it. Like, take a look at the Citi Double Cash's website right here. The only real benefit that it gives you is 2x back on every single purchase. And switching over to the Wells Fargo Active Cash, the same exact thing is true here too. These cards are not flashy. They don't give you any special perks, but boy, do they put in work. The miscellaneous spending category is one, if not the highest, for the vast majority of Americans, and you need to be sure that at a very minimum, you're covering all of that spend at least 1.5x back. I can already see the comments now saying that you should never take anything less than 2x back since there's so many options out there that give you that. And that's why you'll see a lot of people say that like the Freedom Unlimited or the Capital One Quicksilver cards are just completely worthless and you should never go get them. And while I understand the sentiment, of course, it's really not that simple. Each one of these catch-all credit cards, while on the surface offer the exact same thing, they can provide very different values depending on your use case. To show this, let's directly compare two 2x catch-all cards, the Citi Double Cash and the Wells Fargo Active Cash, with one 1.5x earning card, the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Starting with the 2x cards, the Wells Fargo Active Cash is really straightforward. It just gives you 2x back on every single one of your purchases right away. However, the Citi Double Cash annoyingly splits your earnings into two separate buckets. You get 1x back whenever you make the purchase, and then 1x whenever you pay your bill. Obviously, all of us are paying our bills off on time, so effectively, it's the same 2x earning rate. But I imagine a lot of folks out there who are looking for a cashback card would rather just have the simplicity of getting all of the rewards at once, and that's why they might lean towards the Active Cash over the Double Cash. More importantly than that, though, since that really is a small deal for 99% of people, the Active Cash is going to be earning Wells Fargo rewards points, while the Double Cash earns Citi thank you points. If you're somebody on Team Cashback, you don't care what currency they're earning in because both currencies will allow you to redeem for cashback at 1 cent per point. But for those of us on Team Hybrid or Team Travel, this could make a massive difference. Taking a look at this transfer partner table within the larger credit card blueprint that you can join the waitlist for through the newsletter link in the description, you can see an immediate difference between these two lenders. While Citi has access to 19 total transfer partners here, Wells Fargo currently only has access to 8. So by earning Wells Fargo points instead of Citi thank you points, you've just automatically siphoned all of your rewards into a smaller list of partners that you can actually use. To be fair, all of Wells Fargo's transfer partners are extremely competitive and you can use them for the same rates that you could really any of Citi's partners. And matter of fact, they actually have a leg up on Citi when it comes to earning Avios through British Airways and Iberia. But the fact remains that Citi has not only access to a larger list, but also they have two unique unique partnerships that separate them from Wells Fargo and really the rest of the transferable currencies in general. Those two being a 1-to-1 transfer rate to American Airlines and a 1-to-4 transfer rate to I Prefer hotels. So basically, unless you're somebody that is completely content with Wells Fargo's transfer partner list, or you're somebody on Team Cashback, then you may want to go the Citi Double Cash route instead of the Active Cash. But how does this change whenever we compare both of those cards to the Freedom Unlimited that gives you 1.5x back on all your miscellaneous spend? Regardless of the earning rate being lower than the other two we just listed, there is an argument to use the Freedom Unlimited above them, specifically for those who need access to Chase's unique transfer partners like Hyatt. Taking a little sidestep here, I know that a lot of y'all can get annoyed with us creators talking about the whole like Chase to Hyatt transfer and how valuable that is. But just realize that the reason that we focus on partners like Hyatt is because in general, all of the big transferable currencies have access to the same overlapping airline partners. So that's not that interesting to talk about. What we really need to focus in on are where these lenders have unique partnerships. So like I mentioned with Citi, that's going to be American Airlines and I Prefer. And with Chase, that's mainly Hyatt is their most valuable, but they also have, of course, Southwest and United that are unique to them as well. Back to the topic at hand here, though, taking a super simplistic example, let's say that you're somebody that flies with American Airlines all the time since they're a very high valued currency, and you stay with Hyatt's all the time because they're also a high value currency on the hotel side. Well, now you're in a real predicament as to what catch-all card to use between the Double Cash and the Freedom Unlimited. And most people would think, well, obviously, I'll just use the Double Cash because it gives me a higher earning rate and I'll find another way to earn Chase points, which is a viable option for sure. However, if you're somebody that doesn't want to add a ton of cards, you might need to rethink this a bit, especially considering the fact that maybe you're only redeeming your American Airlines miles for 1.5 cents per point on average, while with Hyatt, you're getting 2 cents per point on average. Multiplying those numbers together on both ends, that shows that we're getting a 3% effective rate of return regardless of what catch-all card we use. And that is exactly why there's an argument for using the Freedom Unlimited over a card that gives you 2x back. Of course, there is absolutely no denying that 2x back is going to beat 1.5x all day. But I think a lot of us forget that we have to build our setups around our unique lifestyle and our unique travel habits. And if you're somebody that's using Chase points all the time and you always feel like you need more of them, well, then you might just unfortunately have to take that lower rate to keep your travel habits up. But no matter what catch-all card you decide to go with, I just don't ever see a reason to cancel that one if it has no annual fee. The Swiss Army knife is the backbone of any good credit card setup, and that's why I generally recommend people get that as early on in their journey as possible, just so you don't have to worry about it again in the future. The third archetype of credit card that I would never cancel is what I'll call the gateway card. And no, I'm not talking about the United Gateway. I wanted to come up with a different name for this one, but honestly, I feel like this just fits this archetype so well since it describes exactly what these cards do for you, and that is open a gateway to their respective lenders' transfer partner lists. Now, I know that you Team Cashback folks would argue that you don't need this card at all, but for the rest of us who like to travel on points and miles, and that's kind of why we play this game, a transfer partner access card is arguably the most important card in our setup. Generally, the gateway cards that we think of the most cost $95 per year and come with some kind of credit to help offset that annual fee. Like the big names here would be the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Citi Strata Premier, but there are also a lot of no annual fee options in this category these days, like the Wells Fargo Autograph, the Amex Blue Business Plus, Capital One Venture One, and Built MasterCards. And we'll talk more about those here in a little bit, but let's focus in on the $95 CSPs. Starting with the Sapphire Preferred, it has a $50 hotel credit that can help offset the $95 annual fee, and that is for any hotel booking made through Chase's travel portal. And this can actually be very useful without paying any money for a hotel stay, since Chase allows you to split your payment method at checkout. Back when I had this card, I used this credit in this exact way. I would book a hotel stay through Chase's travel portal. I would pay $50 directly on my Sapphire Preferred to activate that credit. And then I would pay off the rest of the hotel stay using points, which with their new points boost feature means that you could get 1.5 cents per point for top booked hotels while also getting to use that credit, which is pretty nice. With the Strata Premier, on the other hand, you get a $100 annual hotel credit. So that's better than the Sapphire Preferred. But the catch is that you have to book a stay through Citi's travel portal that costs at least $500 before taxes and fees. Honestly, this is a much less useful perk in my opinion, just because I try to not pay for hotels out of pocket if I can help it. So I haven't used this at all on my Strata Premier yet. And you may be thinking then, like, aren't you just wasting, $95 a year holding both of these cards? And my answer is absolutely not. I honestly don't care about these credits at all, because where the real value comes from is the transfer partner access. Without one of these cards, the maximum amount of value you can get from either your Chase Ultimate Rewards points or your Citi Thank You points would be 1 cent per point in cashback or through their travel portal. But with access to each lender's transfer partner lists, you get to effectively convert your points from that lender's points currency to a hotel or airline currency instead. And since some of those hotel and airlines have very valuable points booking options, you can now make your Citi or Chase points worth 2, 5, 10 plus cents per point, depending on what you're booking. To be clear, in order to get massive redemption values like that, normally you're going to be having to fly business or first class internationally. And even those high cent per point values are not guaranteed on those bookings by any means. So it does take some research, but the opportunity is there. If you wanted to keep things really simple though, focusing in on just Chase for the sake of the example, all you have to do is convert your Chase points to Hyatt points whenever you're ready to make a booking. And there you go. You've already basically doubled the value of your Chase point to 2 cents per point. Rather than me pulling that 2 cent per point number out of thin air, let me show you an exact example from a couple of years back whenever I held the Sapphire Preferred. There's a really neat Hyatt resort just outside of where I live, Austin, Texas, called the Hyatt Lost Pines. And back in 2023, I booked 2 nights at this property, which cost me 37,000 points. Around that time, the exact same room would have cost $950 for those 2 nights. So running a cent per point calculation there, that means that my Chase points that I converted to Hyatt points to make that booking were worth 2.56 cents per point, or 2.56 times the cash value I would have gotten instead. To illustrate the power of this further, let's say that I was somebody that just had the Chase Freedom Unlimited and I didn't have that transfer partner access through the Sapphire Preferred. In order for me to cover the cash price of that hotel, I would have had to cash out 95,000 points to cover the $950. So effectively, since I had that transferability from Chase to Hyatt through the Preferred, I saved myself 58,000 points, or a cash equivalent of $580. That one trip alone, that was just a simple 2-night stay, would have covered the annual fee on the Sapphire Preferred for 6 years. Now let's extend this idea a bit further and say that you're somebody that built out a full Chase or Citi trifecta and are sitting on about 100,000 points from the welcome offers. If you got that same redemption rate that I got for that Hyatt property consistently, instead of just having those 100,000 points be worth $1,000 in cash back, you would have over $2,500 in travel value. That's an added value of $1,500 that you got because you have that $95 Sapphire Preferred or Strata Premier. And that's without considering any of those cards' earning categories, credits, or benefits outside of that transfer partner access. That $1,500 value would cover the annual fee on either of those cards for 16 years. And that right there is the power of transfer partner access. Like I mentioned earlier, though, you don't even have to worry about this math at all with a lot of cards out there that have no annual fee and give you that same transfer partner access, specifically the Wells Fargo Autograph, Amex Blue Business Plus, Capital One, Venture One, and Bilt MasterCards. Aside from the lack of annual fees, the biggest difference between these no annual fee versions and the Sapphire Preferred and Strata Premier are the travel protections and retail protections. But other than that, they're extremely competitive and sometimes even earn better than those earning categories wise. The Wells Fargo Autograph card is probably still the most underrated credit card on the entire market, offering 3x on a lot of daily categories like restaurants, gas stations, transit, streaming services, phone plans, and travel. By the way, that last part right there, 3x back on travel, is a great replacement for those of y'all who lost the 3x back on travel from the Chase Sapphire Reserve. But yeah, it has all of those earning categories, plus cell phone protection and other protections as well. And again, access to Wells Fargo's transfer partners. Honestly, I've been wanting to make a full video on Wells Fargo's entire credit card portfolio. So let me know down below if you'd be interested in that. But bottom line, no matter what gateway credit card you go for, it'll likely become a staple in your wallet forever, unless, of course, you just don't want to travel anymore. After talking through all of this, I'm really curious to hear, what are your forever credit cards? And at this point, you might be interested to hear me rank all 20 plus of my credit cards in this video next, so go ahead and click into it. As always, Odin and I both really appreciate y'all watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.